This UFO expert, is he the only one in mainstream media talking about this subject in the Czech Republic?
Kinda, I would say, yeah.
Okay, and what's his name?
His name is Shishka.
Okay, and is he friends with the IC intelligence community or the military?
He might be. I mean, there are rumors about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a mystery. It's the same here.
Oh, okay.
That's how the cover-up is going on. I've talked to a lot of people all over the Western world, and it's the same story all over.
Welcome to another talk about UAPs, and firstly, let me briefly introduce my guest. Thomas Persson is a Swedish UFO researcher. His career is based mainly in police department, with specialty in preliminary intelligence operation. Thomas has his own podcast called UFO Bortom Rimligt Tvivel, which in English means something like UFO Beyond Reasonable Doubt. Over the years, he had on his channel people like James Fox, Stephen Bassett, Mary Rodwell, and many others. And it is my honor to interview him today. So, hello, Thomas. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing also pretty good.
Great.
And firstly, I would like to ask you what made you interested in the topic of UFOs and what kept you researching this issue?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I didn't take this topic serious at all until 2019 in October when David Fravor was at Joe Rogan. And I heard about, I saw some segment on CNN about, I think it was the Go Fast video. And there was a short segment, and I remember it now. It was with Anderson Cooper, talked about US Navy taking UFO seriously, but I wasn't. I got cognitive dissonance, I couldn't take it in really. It was just something I heard in the passing. So then in 2019, when I was on sick leave from the police department for cancer treatment, I recognized that there was this fighter pilot taking, a couple of hours to sit down and talk about a UFO incident. So I just thought that I would try to take it seriously for once. For the first time ever, I tried to take it seriously. And yeah, it's pretty easy to, you don't have to be a homicide investigator to realize that David Fravor knows what he's talking about. And all those witnesses and all those different corroborating pieces of evidence in that case, it's so far beyond reasonable doubt. It could be like 1/5 of the evidence in that case would be beyond reasonable doubt. So then you know that UFOs are real just from that case. So then I started researching, and since I was on sick leave, I had a lot of time, and the cancer treatment kind of made me. I had a difficult time with too much sound and lights and people and impressions. So I preferred to be a quieter place. So it was perfect for researching with a new hobby. If you used to, I mean, the scientific method is great, but a UFO incident is much more like a police incident, a crime incident. It's different kinds of evidence, and it's not much like instruments, data from scientific instruments. That's not what the evidence in ufology is about. It's more about witnesses and soft evidence, so to speak. So I had a quite easy time to build knowledge, I recognize, and started a podcast a little bit. I didn't know what I was doing really. I realize now when I started a podcast, but that's 4 years ago. So now I'm a UFO field investigator and taking some courses and do mostly my own research. And that's how it started.
And I'm just curious about Sweden. Is there a big UFO stigma, or are there like stories in the people how they talk, or some famous stories, or it's something people don't really talk about?
It's hard to say right now. It's changed a lot since. 2017, or at least the last couple of 3, 4, 5 years. It's changed a lot. But yeah, there's a definite stigma still, and the stigma is very significant part of the cover-up, and that's what I try to learn people, that the stigma is created. It's not real. There's always been evidence for UFOs. Since the 1940s, there's been a lot of really solid cases in every country, I guess. So the stigma has been going on at the same time that there's been lots of evidence, actually. So the stigma is false, and that's the biggest hurdle to get over in Sweden also. But yeah, you can talk about UFOs, and maybe every other person knows a little bit about it. But in general, the typical person can't really have a normal discussion about it, because that stigma is very internalized and hard to get past. The UFO topic doesn't get a lot of attention, but if it does, there's always one and the same UFO expert in media, and it has been him and him only for 30 years.
Okay. I mean, in Czech Republic, I guess it got little bit, but only little bit better after 2017. That now we actually have something to say, that there's some factual stuff that you can like support your claims. It helped, but I would say the stigma here is bigger than in Sweden, from what I heard from you.
Mm.
It's interesting that you said that you have one big UFO researcher who is always talked to. We have the same thing, exactly the same thing, and he is even, I guess, even longer in the field than that. He's maybe 40, 50 years old. I mean, 40, 50 years interested in this. So,
And what does he say about UFOs? Has he reached a conclusion that non-human intelligence is proven, or?
He's more of a skeptic, I would say. However, there's one famous case in Czech Republic which he was investigating, and he never was able to reach the conclusion what it is. It was a kind of tic-tac case that came
Mhm.
from Austria over the let's say, south part of Czech Republic. Then it went away to Slovakia, and then it disappeared over Hungary. And there was even deployed a helicopter to look for it. There were witnesses on the ground. And so, since there were many witnesses, even the military witnesses, that researcher, who is a big skeptic, he cannot say that it's something explainable. So, I mean, that is something that is good. But for instance, he says that people like David Grush and other people who are in Congress speaking, that, that they could make it up, that they are just saying that, for instance, David Grush is saying, yeah, these people told me about the retrievals, and that even though he is sworn that he wouldn't have a problem, because he would say, yeah, I mean, those people told me, so I didn't lie. So they are really dismissing. I mean, the mainstream in Czech Republic is dismissing the new UFO movements, let's say, or the
Mhm.
happenings in USA.
This UFO expert, is he the only one in mainstream media talking about this subject in the Czech Republic?
Kinda, I would say, yeah.
Okay, and what's his name?
His name is Shishka.
Okay, and is he friends with the IC intelligence community or the military?
He might be. I mean, there are rumors about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a mystery. It's the same here.
Oh, okay.
That's how the cover-up is going on. I've talked to a lot of people all over the Western world, and it's the same story all over. And
Wow.
yeah, this is how the lead is kept on. They're not going to go to you, because I guess you have reached a conclusion about non-human intelligence or extraterrestrials, but the intelligence community has their own team of ufologists all over Europe. And I guess the man you talked about just now is one of them. I would strongly suspect.
Yeah, I mean, my friends are telling such rumors, so one more reason to believe it.
Yeah. It's not a mystery. This is how it's done. This
Hmm.
is why. And I guess, can I ask you a question? Did the David Grush witness testimony, was that on the big evening prime time news or big headlines on the biggest newspapers in the Czech Republic?
Not really. It was
No.
mentioned minorly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That is how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I made this podcast is to kind of connect the interesting cases in different countries, because I probably presume you didn't hear about the Tic Tac case here in Czech Republic, right?
No.
So that leads me to a question that I have heard that in Sweden you had a big UFO wave in 1946, and I know very little about it, so I would be very happy if you could enlighten me.
Sure. Yeah. A couple of weeks after the bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, our commander in chief, the highest ranking military in Sweden, his name was Helge Jung. He was a general. He ordered the start of the Swedish nuclear weapons program. It had one civilian part and one military part for both purposes, weapons, nukes, and civilian power plants, so to speak. And it kind of formed from the autumn of 45 and in 46. And in 46, we had one of the absolute biggest UFO waves in history. And just on the first 8 months or so, there were 1,000 reports. And I guess you could multiply that by at least 10, maybe, because there are not a lot of people who know where to turn or want to report a UFO. So that's the same now, I guess. So more than 1,000 reports just the first 8 months of 1946. And 100 of them, the military acknowledged actually that 100 of them crashed in lakes. And in one day, four of them crashed in three different lakes in Sweden and one in Norway. And there's some incidents of crashing ghost rockets into lakes that there's no sign of finding anything, that we can probably say that they didn't find anything. We have no strong reason to suspect that anything was actually found, but if the military found a crashed UFO, they wouldn't tell us. They would probably make us think that they haven't found anything. So we don't know, but so 100 of them crashed, and all of them, there's no exception, as far as I know, of them crashing into lakes, never on land.
Hmm.
And the ghost rockets, they were cigar-shaped UFOs. Some had small wings, but most of them had no wings, and they were mostly silent. There's one incident of one not being silent, but that's the typical ghost rocket, is a cigar shaped, like a couple of meters, like 2 to 4 meters long, and no propulsion, no wings, and silent. So yeah, there was a military pilot also who kind of tried to catch one flying after it, but it went into a cloud, a thundercloud, and so he lost it. And then in 1948, on the 19th of July in 48, General Helge Jung, who ordered the start of the nuclear weapon program, that took form in 46, and the ghost rockets came crashing down over mostly Sweden, but also Norway and maybe some in Finland also, but mostly Sweden. He sits at a lake outside of Stockholm, and then a ghost rocket comes right in front of him. It's 11 a.m., so it's almost noon, so it's a bright sunny day, and the ghost rocket kind of just spheres, takes a turn in front of him and crashes in the lake right in front of him. So he rows out, it's too deep, so he rows back again. Then he orders the military to start diving there. And he writes this in his journal. So this is corroborated in many different ways. His daughter has also told about it. And yeah, so he writes in his journal, the only one thing that points to they might have found something is that the General Young, he writes in his journal that some subordinate called him about the ongoing diving expedition and says that they have caught a fish, which is not about catching a fish, it's something else. And it was about the diving after the ghost rocket. So that might be one one piece of evidence pointing that they might have found something. Then, a couple of months later, General Doolittle from the U.S. Air Force comes to Sweden and visits the Swedish military. And in October of 1948, there's a document. It's my favorite piece of document in ufology. It's an official document. We know this because my friend Johan has personally gotten it from the White House archives just last year or something. So we know that this is a real document. It's from U.S. Air Force Europe, and it's the U.S. military asking the Swedish military what they have concluded about the ghost rockets. And it's I can send you this document. You can see it for yourself. It's brilliant. They talk about flying saucers and this highly technical, skilled witness, which is actually Commander-in-Chief General Helge Jung, but they call him a technical expert. And the Swedish military's conclusion in 1948 that they told the Americans, the General Doolittle, was that the UFOs, the flying saucers, and the ghost rockets, they were obviously from a highly technical, skilled, what do you call it? Obviously from a highly technical, skilled culture, which you cannot find on Earth. So that was the Swedish military's conclusion in 1948. And even the Prime Minister, Per Albin Hansson, was asked about this, because this was there was, 1,000 reports. This was quite known, and the military, they had a big committee, and that was also known, and the Prime Minister was asked about this committee. And that's the last time a Swedish politician has officially talked about the subject.
Wow. I mean, to me, it sounds very unique. I mean, it is a bit interesting that something flies and most of them went to the lake, if I understand.
Not most, there were thousands of them,
Thousand?
but we know, yeah, but we know the military says that 100 of them crashed into lakes. So maybe not, maybe
Okay.
only a small part of them crashed into lakes, maybe.
Mm.
Not sure.
Okay. And since then, nothing similar happened like this.
Well, we had a very intensive UFO wave in 1986.
Hmm.
And that was called in by a very famous and successful contactee called Sten Lindgren. And he was born, I think he was born in 39 or 40. He died in 2020, I think, or 2022, or a couple of years ago. And yeah, he was a contactee like, well, he was very special. He was an engineer, was very intelligent, obviously. He was very delicate, very thoughtful, very nice man, and he was something else. He had contacts with what he called the Cosmic Brotherhood. He described them as Nordics. And I know a woman who was with him when he showed loads of people. He made loads of friends and acquaintances have close encounters of different kinds. Yeah, he was quite shy. He was very shy, very particular, very distinguished, very thoughtful. And in December of 1985, he said to a couple of friends, which I have spoken to one of them, I've spoken to two of them. He told them that because they were going to start up a UFO group in Dalarna. In conjunction with this, he said that he had how to I don't know how to translate it, but he had made a order for a flyover. That's kind of what he said. He has talked to his buddies, his from other planets, his Nordic groups, the Cosmic Brotherhood, and I mean, I didn't believe this at first. It took me years to actually understand that this is not made up. And now I've spoken to the witnesses. He said that he had gotten it approved, that they were going to do a flyover, and then it took only 2 weeks. So 2 weeks into 19, or 2 weeks later, so very close in from the new year in 1986, they had a huge UFO wave just over Dalarna, a small part of Sweden. Like it's like Sweden is a big country, but I would guess Dalarna is maybe as half of Czech Republic, maybe, I'm guessing. And there were, so only 2 weeks, they had over, I think it's 200 or 300 reports to police and to local radio and local papers from different citizens all over this county of Dalarna, and only over this small part of Sweden. And so for 2 weeks, a couple of hundred reports. So maybe the actual amount of sightings and experiences, maybe there were like guessing 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 maybe in 2 weeks' time. And Sten had said this was going to happen 2 weeks before. So that's one of the most special UFO waves I've heard of, I think.
Okay, that's very wonderful.
Yeah.
It's interesting you bring this up. I mean, here in Czech Republic, before the Soviet regime ended here, it was a huge like taboo to talk about any experiences or so on, or even spirituality. And then later, I mean, right now, there's Czech people are not really religious, but we are very inclined to like spirituality or esoterical things. So right now, these kind of things are very interesting for people here in Czech Republic, but we don't have any such a channeler or something. I don't think we do. I mean, we have some people who claim to be connected to some beings and giving some messages, but such concrete things we don't have. But maybe you can tell a little bit more about Stan. How was he communicating? Like through some channeling that he was writing things or directly
No,
telepathy or?
telepathy mostly. As far as I know, it was telepathy, but he actually, uh, he was, he got to organize a landing, several landings actually. And there were people with him on several occasions. I've spoken to one of his old friends. She's been friends with Sten since the 1960s, and I've spoken to her a couple of times. I met her also, very nice lady, and she tells me that Sten once, one incident, he said that he knew there was an UFO about to come into their general area, and he just pointed at the direction, and sure enough, there comes a flying saucer. And she describes it exactly like, you know, the Billy Meyer type of saucer with the three balls on the
Okay.
underside of it.
Hmm.
Yeah, that kind of saucer, which is, I mean, people like to dismiss Billy Meyer because there was some problems with some pics and claims and stuff, but he was not all fake. No, at least he was very accurate about that type of saucer. There's those exist, the classic ones with the top, and on the bottom it's three round spheres.
Okay.
A lot of people have seen those, and she was with him when he knew one of them were coming. So
Hmm.
I mean, it took me years to get enough evidence and good reasons to actually believe in this stuff, because I'm an old skeptic. I'm an old atheist. I'm an old skeptic. I was actually involved in the humanistic society here in Sweden, the big skeptic and atheistic organization. But so I need evidence. I need good reasons to. I don't easily believe in stuff. So
Hmm.
this it took me a lot of research and to get to know these people. I know his widow, Sten's widow. She's still alive, and I know her. I speak to her now and then.
Okay.
So yeah, there's no there's no reason to not trust Sten Lindgren. Is one of the most believable and trustworthy contactees I know of.
Hmm. And did Stan share some message, like some main message from the Brotherhood or for the humanity or people?
Yes, yes, absolutely. But I mean, it's not like they wrote it down for him like a Ten Commandments or anything. But he had worked with them for decades, so he understood more than he came a long way, and one of those in understanding what they want and why they are acting like they do. And one of the things he said is they don't want to interrupt our society. They want us to, like, I mean, if they would just land on the White House lawn and on every big city, it would be a takeover. And
Hmm.
and they don't want to enforce. He said that they don't want to enforce their ways. That it has to be like some kind of development, and uh, we have to, if general public don't show any awareness of that they're there, they're not going to impose their ways on us. That's one of the things he said, and we do the same with old tribes and stuff, right?
Hmm.
And he also said that they want us to become seekers. I don't know if that's a good translation, but uh, to become to search for things outside of the normal realms, so to speak. And that's also what my research says. It's a lot of symbolic communication and guidance, but it's not. It's very delicate and it's very mystical sometimes. And yeah, so there's a lot to learn from Sten Lindgren, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for mentioning him. I doubt anybody here in Czech Republic know him, or probably even other countries in Europe know
Yeah.
him. And did you, I think when we were messaging each other that you mentioned you have tried CE5. Did you have,
Yes.
uh, how was it? Did you have any success?
Yes, I was very serious about it from 2022.
Hmm.
I still do it now and then. In the summertime, I usually do it whenever the weather is clear and I feel like it. And so I still do now and then quite a lot, but not like in 2022 when I was very dedicated. And yes, the CE5 can work, definitely. Yeah, so yeah, I've seen UFOs from not seeing anything until I got into ufology. Now I've seen UFOs on, depends on what you count, but on my own doing CE5, I've had like 4 or 5 really clear. I don't count the questionable ones
Hmm.
because those always appear, but I have had some really clear ones. And then I've done C5 with some individuals that are also quite in contact in some ways. And yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff happening then too.
Hmm. And when you had the successful ones, do you feel or do you understand what was the success? Why did it happen successfully?
Um,
No? Mhm.
it's really more up to them.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I would say that it's not so much that I did something right or wrong. It's more their agenda, their, I
Hmm.
don't know, what their plan is or why they show up sometimes and sometimes not. But
Hmm.
it's there's a pattern. Some significant moments, I can almost feel that okay, this is a special timing and it's more likely. And then when those instances happens, then it's much more higher probability that I'm going to see something. Then in the beginning, I was like, okay, everything is perfect. I should see something now, and nothing happens. So it's more up to our planet variated friends than we doing exactly the right protocol. Or I don't believe in that. I've talked to a lot of people doing C5, so I kind of try to collect experiences and what works and what doesn't. And if you ask me, I would say that it's a personal path, but
Hmm.
you need to be mentally out of the echo wheel, the day-to-day 9 to 5 mentality. If
Hmm.
you're if you can mentally be outside of that, that that is very significant. And then also lots of nature, sunlight, water, and mental health. And mental health can in 2022, I was quite seriously about exercising, running, and that's a very proven way to be mentally healthy. So I would say stay mentally healthy, and yeah, water and sunlight and exercise. Those are all things that makes us healthy. So nature is quite. It's not only me. I can point to several people with lots of contacts that tend to be outdoorsy people, right?
Hmm.
Some, some seems to be some kind of correlation there.
Yeah, I do agree to this. I mean, I'm not sure if I 100% agree that it is like totally upon just them. I think there is a part of it that it is like our initiation. But on the
Yes.
other hand, my first like something was that I was just meditating very simply, like that I was just sitting before sleeping, just watching my breath, breathing in, breathing
Yeah.
out. And then suddenly I had such a interesting like feeling inside my body and felt a positive emotion. And I saw with my like inner vision that there is some like let's call it like plasma spaceship, and I like felt it where it is, and it lasted for a few seconds, and I took it as a such a like hello or something.
Yeah. 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 Probably was. That's my first experience, my first contact. That was very much hello, like screaming hello to definitely. But yeah, I agree. Meditation is important also. I was not a meditator. I was not that kind of person, I thought, but made it easier for me was to change the way I look at myself. So I didn't used to look at myself like a person who meditates. In the police academy, they kind of forced us to do these mental exercises.
Hmm.
It was healthy and all, but I didn't take it seriously. So you can kind of reinvent yourself and look at yourself like a person who meditates. That makes it easier. If you're not, I mean, people are different, right? I was a
Yeah.
police officer and not the meditative kind of person
Mm.
before. So you can just change the way you look at yourself. And yeah, meditation, just the basics of meditation is that's the one thing that I would say needs to be explored to get contact.
Yeah, I think if you are able to receive the message or some contact, the brain waves of your, I mean, brain waves of your brain have to be like in the state of alpha or not the busy beta.
Yeah,
That's basically what you mentioned. Yeah.
yeah,
So then you are open and you can notice it, but maybe they are contacting us like more often and we just brush it off or we don't notice it. I don't know. It's possible, right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, some people are better, I think, than me, at least. I don't think
Yeah, me too.
I'm not on Sten Lindgren's level. I know that. But sometimes, I mean, it's very nice of them to show themselves sometimes. Let's say, an language we can understand, right? And if you're a skeptic, if you get things, you might interpret this as telepathy. But then if you're a skeptic, it's kind of you kind of wrestle with what is your own,
Hmm.
what comes from yourself and what comes from the outside. Yeah, that's not easy.
Hmm. Yeah. And since you have your own podcast, well, I would like to ask you what is like the some interesting or some most profound things you learned from your guests on your show, or something that stands out.
Well, obviously, Tom Carey is a favorite researcher,
Hmm.
Roswell researcher. He's just such a nice man and brilliant research. I mean, just read their books, Witness to Roswell, or my favorite, Roswell: The Ultimate Cold Case. That's my favorite because that's more like an police or a indictment in court, like a court case kind of structure. And so, yeah, I really appreciate talking to him, but I also appreciate talking to Mary Rodwell, who's spoken to 3,500 experiencers. That's a lot. And she is, I mean, you need both, right? You need the nuts and bolts and the history, and you need the more spiritual and the more experiencer side of it. So I try to do all sides of it. But I can tell you about my one thing that you haven't heard in any other podcast is 1 month after, or 1 or 2 months after my first success with C5, I met this woman who's now my friend. She's called Susanne, and I've researched her. She's a lifelong experiencer, and so those episodes with her are probably the most unique and significant info I have put out there because when she was 6 years old, she had two short grays in her little child room in her bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she actually petted them. She was allowed to stroke their
Mhm.
cheek and their arm, and they had a little belly. So she's described how a short gray feels, and I don't think I can point to any other. As far as I know, that's quite unique to have that kind of close encounter. And she was very disappointed when I said that most of the information and lots of other experiencers, it all points to them not being actual biological beings like you and me, like they're manufactured like little robots. And she was very disappointed in that. You cannot tell them apart. They are she describes them as very loving and very telepathic, right? And they also can go through walls, which, I mean, the Nordics and the real extraterrestrials, they don't go through walls, I don't think. But so they are manufactured. But that is, even if you can have them right upon you, you cannot tell that they are manufactured. And that's not unlogical because, 1 million years more advanced technology will look like magic, right?
Hmm.
So, and when she was 16, she was abducted. Uh, Even though she has no memory from the actual abduction, she was on her way home from a friend and was waiting at a bus stop. And I mean, she has had lots of paranormal and strange experiences, but this is a more clear UFO one. She's standing there waiting for the bus, and she sees a big light coming closer and closer, and they come very close, and then it's I think it's six lights in a row, and then it's it the light turns off, and she sees that it's a flying saucer. It's a kind of it's a disc that is with concentric circles, and it's like a dome over her. So she's standing over this dome, a lens-shaped saucer, and she's standing up. She's standing like 3-4 meters below it, and she's very scared. And then there's some kind of time gap here, but we don't really know exactly where the time gap is. But when she takes the bus, she takes the next bus that comes along, and when she gets home, it's in the middle of the night, and her mom gets quite upset with her that she should have been home at 8, but this is like past midnight. So there's many hours. There's a couple of hours missing there. So there's obviously some kind of abduction. She hasn't tried hypnosis yet, but we're thinking about it. And when in 2006, when she is on like the most low point of her life, I mean, if you think about the big things in a grown person's life that can go wrong, that if you can, the typical things, all of them went wrong at the same time. No, and she had no money, and everything was just. She was very, very sad and depressed, and I mean, very low point of her life, right? And she was working at a salon. She had her own salon, treating people with like skin care and massages and stuff. And it's raining, pouring down. It's a November night, and somebody's knocking on the door, and there's this woman with red hair. She looks like a regular human being, and she kind of asks some strange things. Like she says she had walked there because she saw that there was a light on, but she was all dry and there was pouring rain, no umbrella, no. So it was really strange. She was obviously not walking there. It's impossible to. It's nobody walks where she said she walked. It's a big highway, and she wants to. I mean, she has a very profound, calming, and encouraging effect on Susanne. And she wants to buy different treatments. And she acts like she doesn't know what money is. She kind of laughs at how we people are so funny about money and stuff like that. I mean, who says that? So really strange. And so she buys all this treatment for 2 hours. And when she always wants to buy some other treatment to get her more money, but she doesn't know what the treatments are. It's like that she doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
And then she takes up a big bunch of like a ball of money, just handles it like she's never seen money before. Yeah, and then she leaves, and Susanne feels from feeling like the worst ever. She feels much, much better. And now she has money, and so the timing of this, and yeah, so that's another very interesting episode in her life.
That's really wonderful.
Yeah,
But I would a bit challenge you on that thing that you say that the grays are only machines, because
short grace.
short grays, okay?
Mm.
Because, or I can tell you one story and you can decide. The story you said about that she touched the gray beings. I am in contact. I mean, she's kind of my friend now because we were chatting quite a bit. Her name is Sue Walker. Have you heard about her?
Not sure. Don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe no.
It's fine. At least I can tell you.
Mm. Yeah.
She moved to New Mexico to her partner, and from she originally lived in Iowa, I guess. So from really green place to really desert place, and of course the place of UFOs, right? And the place where she lived, she once started to hear from time to time a voice in her head, and she is quite actually her career is a psychic one, like in this kind of matters. I'm not sure how to precisely call it, but she's open to these things. And then she decides, or I mean, then she learns from that voice that who it is, and that it's mm, commander of a underground base under one of the mountains there, ET base. Their race, they call themselves a Ponti, and they kind of start to build relationship that like neighbors do, that they ask each other about life and the culture and so on, and they build more and more trust, and she gets to know the others for under the ground. She first just knew the commander, but then she meets different beings, and it's been like this for over 10 years, I believe. And why I started to tell this is because she told also that not so long ago, maybe 1 year ago, she was falling asleep. And one of these beings, the Ponti, were holding her hand while she was falling asleep, you know? And these beings, they tell some interesting things about culture and so on, and how it's the life and the universe. And one of the things they say is that the grays, it is a bit more complicated, that there are more races that look similar to this, and also the machines. So I think it's very complicated to understand about the grays, and there are many hypotheses, but maybe more of them are true, and there are just many things happening.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I heard like there's like 300 different kinds of grays out there, and I've definitely counted to more than five.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's lots of real biological grays, absolutely. But the short grays, the ones that look alike and don't have any,
Ah, yeah.
yeah, those are the ones I'm talking about. That
Hmm.
everything points to them being fabricated, like little android robots. But yeah, there's those are called short grays, but then there's the Roswell grays and there's the Cetas. So there's loads of different grays.
Hmm.
And I might add about Susanne. So one thing, I mean, there's she's the most genuine person I know, and also I know her quite well by now, very well.
Hmm.
And there's no one more believable than her. She's, I mean, if you judge evidence in a court case, I always use my method for evidence in ufology, right? Because you need a method to get to a solid conclusion. You just can't believe in every claim. You need to be able to build uh, to scrutinize evidence. So, and you do that basically. You can simply say that you look at if a piece of evidence could be a document or a witness. If it's believable and if it's reliable, you can't just say that something is credible or not credible. You need to divide it in first believableness and reliability. And Susanne has her mother as a supporting witness because um, all of those three different incidents that I told you about that she has been through at 16 and in 2006, her mother has, I mean, when she came home after midnight, her mother got angry at her because she was gone. She was supposed to be home at 8, but came home at midnight. And so I talked to her mother, and she remembers all of those episodes. So I've talked to her mother that tells her side of the story. From when she was 6, she told her mother about those two grays at once. I mean, she's 60 years old. She's going to tell her mother what just happened, right?
Yeah.
And that would count as supporting evidence if it was a court case. If it was a criminal case, because her mother is just normally talking about this incident. She remembers them. That she told them about the short grays, and she came home in the middle of the night, and yeah, so that's the thing you can point to, that this is not just a story.
Definitely. And so, what do you feel about this whole case? For me, what you are saying, it sounds like that there are some like human type beings, ET beings, who have as a robots the Greys who were visiting her, and then she also met the humans? Or do you think it's not connected, or how do you think?
Yeah, it's connected, I think. I guess it's like it's not only either the human-looking ones or the grays. Obviously, there's some kind of cooperation in some way. Uh, they know of each other. We're not part of their club quite yet, but they have. That's also what a lot of contactees and Haim Ashed, the head of the Israeli Space Force, and the Paul Hellyer, who was the vice president and vice prime minister and minister of defense for Canada. I mean, he also said that there's some kind of galactic federation, some kind of cooperation, of course, a big club that's we are not allowed into yet. But they, in her case, I mean, you could say that being abducted is not a nice experience, but all in all, I think there's definitely more than one race that cares about us, obviously, and we are related to them, obviously. That's out of the question. It's beyond every shadow of a doubt that we are related to many of them. I mean, if you listen to like Robert Bigelow and people who have been deep in ufology for a long time, many of them talk about they're walking among us, right? Have you heard that term? The walking among us? Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, there's not only humans on this planet. There are other planets that have beings with our DNA, aka humans, but they're not bound to our planet. That seems also obvious. And the best evidence for that is, of course, that there's a very overlooked scientific paper, peer-reviewed, published in 2013, that's called the wow signal of the terrestrial genetic code. And the two Russian scientists that conclude that our DNA has these like starts and stops, these sequences that is very numerological, beautiful, and it's they calculated that this has not arisen from only evolution. It's one chance in 10 trillion that this is by chance. So it's not by chance. And we also have, so the a common newbie question is, why would they look like us? That's a lot of people, you can hear that question. Why would they look like us?
Yeah, that's true. Lots of people.
Yeah, yeah, but we are related to them. Why would our DNA be exclusive for Earth? This paper is, I would say, almost proof of that our DNA, we don't look like the other monkeys, right? Our relatives don't look like us at all. The chimpanzees, orangutans, and gorillas,
Yeah.
they don't look like us. We look like almost halfway to a gray or something like that. I mean, not a gray maybe, but
Yeah.
yeah, hairless and stuff. So there's so much logic, and I mean Susanne, the contactee I was just told you about, she also says that she felt that her when she was 6 years old, she felt that her real family was out there with them.
Hmm.
That was what she felt, and there's also the famous CIA remote viewer Joe McMoneagle. He has written in his book that he remote viewed our past, and he says that aliens have mixtured with our DNA. So there's lots of corroborating evidence to say that we are not the only beings with this type of DNA, and that's why they look like us.
I mean, there are many things pointing to this, and many researchers telling about this. And I kind of like what Linda Mountainhouse says about this, that we were on the evolution path of that monkeys or whatever, and then there was intervention, which makes sense. And I think it's a bit interesting that, for instance, the newest Gary Nolan interview, he was speaking there that, yeah, I don't think that the things that they are coming here, the non-human intelligence, that they look like us because who knows, I guess the two hands, two legs, it doesn't have to be the most efficient.
You shouldn't take for granted that he's honest about that. No, because he's in a very difficult position.
Hmm.
So I know what you're talking about with Jordan Peterson, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that
yeah,
one.
yeah. That part when he says that he's not. If you ask me, it's pretty obvious that he can't say it. He knows better than that because it doesn't make sense as a scientific the scientific viewpoint would be that evolution, the principles of evolution would be the same on every planet, right?
They might be, yeah.
Yeah, it would be, yeah. So, and what's the difference on different planets? It would be a stone planet in the Goldilocks zone. The things that could differentiate would be the gravity, the
Hmm.
different kinds of masses of the planet, and the atmosphere. And why would those kind of principles that work here with our chemistry? I mean, the particles, the elements are the same in the Milky Way. That's what the scientists say. So it's the same building blocks. The only thing that can differentiate is atmosphere and how big the planet is. So why would not the same basic form win in the long run? We can see that this all the smart animals on this planet, except the octopi, but I mean the crows, the lions, the dogs, they all have the same. All have the same. If you stand them on the back legs and take away the fur or the feathers, it's the same shape. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why would a scientist not realize that that's an obviously winning concept in the long run? I don't think Gary Nolan has missed that, but you have to give him some slack maybe because he has been told to quiet down. He also said it in that interview that the White House told him he couldn't talk about certain things, right?
Hmm.
And if you remember, like 2, 3 years ago, Gary Nolan said he was 100% sure of the extraterrestrial intelligence more than visiting Earth. He
Hmm.
said that he was 100% sure of extraterrestrial intelligence, and it hasn't only visited, it has been here a long time. That was what he said a couple of years ago. And then after that, he said that he has gotten visits from the intelligence community or the military to told him to shut up. So
Hmm.
when he says that thing to Jordan Peterson that he doesn't believe that our form would be biological successful, he can't tell you what he knows and thinks. You cannot trust that part of
Hmm.
what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just as a last question, as we're nearing the hour, I would just ask you, what is some news or some important things that are happening now that you would like to bring up, or maybe some, even if you want, from Sweden, some things that are important right now for us.
Yeah, from Sweden, this summer we have started a Swedish concept of Dennis Sheehan's has his New Paradigm Institute,
Hmm.
and they organize something called Citizens for Disclosure, which is supposed to in every voting district in the United States, as many as possible, get people involved in putting pressure about UFOs in their constituents, to their politicians. And we took that concept to Sweden, so we have started Citizens for Disclosure Sweden last year, and we were at the. Every year there's a big political meeting in Sweden. They call it the biggest political meeting in the world. It's a concept that maybe not other countries have. It's on the island of Gotland in the Baltic Sea. There's this little park, and every year all the political parties and like 2 to 4 thousand NGOs, organizations, and media, and they all come there to. It's the supposed to if you have a question, an issue that you think is important, and you have an organization that wants to
Hmm.
raise a political question, you go there to raise it. So I took Citizens for Disclosure there. we had some success, at least some members of parliament and the leader of the opposition heard what we said, and at least 2 ministers heard that the UFO topic was there. And so that's, we're trying to push the topic, but what is important for Europe to realize that there's one thing going on in the States, right? And the obviously overall agenda seems to be that we in Europe are just supposed to be sitting in every country of our own and not speak to each other and not realize what's going on. While as in your country, as in mine, there's the media they don't do their job on this topic, because the UFO topic, the extraterrestrial presence, is of the highest security order, right? We know that since at least 1950.
Yeah.
That it's as high a security clearance as the atomic bomb or the H bomb, right? We know that since Weeby Smith's memo. So that's why the media acts like they do, and it's the same pattern in all of the countries I've spoken to. So if people want to discuss this, what's going on in their country, because I have a very good view of exactly how it's done in this country, and I can see it in Denmark, and I can see it in Holland, Netherlands, and in your country also it's the same. There is this network of ufologists in Europe that they do what the IC, what the intelligence community tells them to do. They in March of 2024, last year, there was a UAP meeting in the European Parliament. You know this, yeah.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. And that wasn't reported anywhere in Sweden. I think my podcast and a couple of other podcasts was the only platforms that reported this. The big UFO organization in Sweden, UFO Sweden, the ones that get interviewed by media, they didn't say anything about this. That there was actually a Swedish astronomer there. So they just they've done this before. They didn't mention the Brazil Parliament in 2022. They didn't mention the Virginia case. They've never talked about or mentioned the Virginia case. So this is what's going on in all of Europe. And if you want to realize this, if you want to get in touch with other people interested in this topic about what's going on and what we can do, we have started a Discord server. It's quite small at the moment, but Citizens for Disclosure, and it's parentheses International by Sweden, I think. So if you just search on Discord for Citizens for Disclosure, and this says something about Sweden there also, but it's for every country. We have different categories for Europe and USA, and everyone from Europe. I would like people who are invested and knowledgeable about this topic and care about it. If you want to join and speak to other Europeans, we can have that as a platform. That's at least a suggestion.
That's wonderful. But I know that when the meeting happened in European Parliament, nobody really spoke about it here in Czech Republic, not at all. But it was still very good because I had a card to put out, and to reach out to potential European members, because no, I mean, a bit later there were elections, European elections, and I tried to message or write on Twitter to different people from the parties, and some of them I did get reactions that like, yeah, if it's just such a easy that pilots should report this, yeah, then why not? But they were not super like into it. But at least I a bit tried to open some conversation. But yeah, it takes people. So I will gladly join join the Discord, of course, but I will also put the link here so people can join. I think it's wonderful initiation.
Yeah, maybe one thing worth mentioning before we go is the cover-up is mainly psychological. There's no problem with the evidence for the extraterrestrial presence. You can take that from my 20 years as a homicide detective and serious crime unit in the Swedish Stockholm Police Department. You can all see the evidence. It's no problem case after case after case would hold up in court, right? The cover-up is mainly psychological, media and groupthink, right? So we just need to change the way we talk to each other. You see, the stigma has created a false way of talking to each other, right? I was a victim of this. I never took UFO seriously. And if somebody would have started talking seriously about UFOs to me just 10 years ago or 7 years ago, I would probably have just found some kind of lame excuse to dismiss it, right? That's what people do. So the cover-up is mainly psychological, and it's very important how we communicate. And there's also a big psychological operation in ufology, of course, to gaslight us about what UFOs are and just keep us talking about different hypotheses, that it could be from the future, it could be from under the sea, and all those kind of crazy hypotheses with no freaking evidence for it. So there's lots more evidence that whole conversation is a part of the psychological cover-up. There's no evidence for them coming from the future or from the under the sea. There's a billion Earth-like exoplanets out there. And that's where the UFO technology comes from. And we need to unite that. We don't know every answer for all the questions in ufology, but we know one thing. We know that there's an extraterrestrial presence, and that's what is being covering up by locking in the materialistic proof and keeping us focused on we only can get knowledge from scientific analysis, but that's not true. Knowledge is not limited to natural science and peer-reviewed papers. You can build knowledge in different ways. And one last thing about their tricks is to gaslight us and divide us, but the basic word UFO, it started like flying saucers, right? That was the word was used until after the Washington Flap, where U.S. Air Force launches the new word. That was an acronym then, like UFO, unidentified. And this is not by chance, I believe. They don't just do stuff like this on a whim. They have a plan. So this is their way to force in the word unidentified in our word for flying saucers. So then it changed from flying saucers or flying discs to UFO. But the brilliant part is that UFO has since then become a word. It's since long a word in Swedish and in English for flying saucers and tic tacs. That is a word. It's not an acronym anymore. It's a word for, just like the word airplane is a word for 747s and stealth fighters. Those are different kinds of airplanes.
I agree.
UFOs is a word for tic tacs, flying saucers, and all those kinds of UFOs. So this talk about, I can't really believe that ufology hasn't really recognized this, that UFO is not just something unidentified, it's a word for flying saucers and tic tacs. And the UAP thing, I think, was their way to try, and I have no evidence of this, but the best explanation is when they introduced UAP, it was from the Pentagon, it was from the military. It's their way of recognizing, okay, UFO is now the word. Everybody thinks of flying saucer is a UFO, that it's extraterrestrials, and that's what the general public thinks. If UFOs are real, then it must be from other planets, and they don't want that, so they introduced UAP. So we have to think again, what does UAP stand for? Unidentified. Okay, it's just something unidentified. That's what I think that their plan was with this confusion about UFOs just being something unidentified, which is not.
Absolutely. I would say that the UAP abbreviation is kind of a way to make it a lot about like drones and so on. I mean, what is this?
Yeah, it's better now because now it stands for anomalous.
Ah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so that's actually
Mhm.
better. But from the start, that wasn't their plan. I think it was to force the word unidentified in there once again. But now it's anomalous. So you can't claim that something anomalous can be an airplane. An airplane is not anomalous. So
Mm,
I don't know if it's good or bad. At least now it's we're talking about something anomalous. But I prefer UFO.
that's right. Okay, so thank you so much. It was really insightful. I didn't hear any of these stories ever, and they were super interesting.
Great, thank you.
And it sounds you're doing a wonderful work in Sweden. So I will again remind the Discord server if you want to get more active in these things. And thanks everyone to watching this. And we wish you a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you.